The jar before you may have looked opulent once, but no longer. Now it's covered in grime, its paint chipped away, and its jewels long stolen. The soul jar rocks slightly, light flashing from underneath its lid. On its rim, you can just barely make out the name Gratiana. As soon as you touch the jar's cracked surface, you see a vision of splendor, silks, fine food, and decadent lechery. But underneath it all lies bone and blood. The vision shifts. You see burning villages, slaughtered women and children. You see her, purging wand in hand, standing amongst it all. She throws her head back and laughter echoes in your skull. A shadow falls across her, and you see a large, weeping face. She reaches out as if to comfort, but Bracchus drags her back. You see her fall into the mire of the swamp, trapped. As you pull your hand away, you can feel a deep, longing sadness in your soul. Is it regret, or just sadness for a life that used to be? The terrible vision fades.
While she lived a selfish life, she seems to have repented. She should be forgiven.
Whatever a person may have done in life, they can always be redeemed.
However her life began, it ended well. No one should be damned because of their youth.
The jar sits still. It seems inert. Gratiana's soul flits through the air, eyes wild and desperate. She turns to you as her spirit starts to fade from this world.
But I'm not ready. No, you can't. No!
This jar glitters and glows. From within, you think you can make out the distant sound of laughter. With a jerk, your mind is pulled to a scene in a tavern. You see a dwarf in the center of the room, joking as all around roar with laughter. All bar the zombies, who are slavishly serving food and drink. The door opens, and a tall, beautiful woman stalks into the room. She's flanked by heavily armed guards. You can't make out her words, but see the fear in the dwarf's eyes. The dwarf mutters a word, and the undead lurch towards the intruder, but are cut down like wheat. The dwarf tries to run, pushing her friends into the woman's path, but is grabbed before she can escape. As she's dragged away to a tower, you hear her cursing Bracchus Rex and his whore. Even when she's thrown inside and the door sealed, you can still hear her shouts. You pull your hand away from the jar, your head swimming. You can feel the dwarf's cold terror still twisting in your gut. The jar shatters like glass, but a spirit rises from the shards like smoke. The ghost of a dwarf, bedecked in necromancer robes, winks and blows you a kiss before slowly fading to nothing.
Beautiful. Thank you. My death waits.
The vision fades.
She must have been acting against Bracchus Rex, for him to have come for her like that.
Keeping the dead as slaves? What a disgusting display. She deserved every punishment she got.
Being locked in a tower was more kindness than any necromancer deserves.
The jar on the plinth before you seems ancient, but is in surprisingly good condition. It's covered in pictograms that you can't understand, but you're sure you just saw one of them move. The pictograms spin to life, and you're dragged into a dream. You see the lizards of the ancient empire turning their backs on you, casting you out into the wilderness. As you roam, the human apes turn away from you, all but one. One smiles, one opens his arms, one says he'll take you home. Brachus Rex. He promises power for a price. He picks off your golden scales, one by one, stripping you down to the bone. He promised you a crown, but all you got was shackles. You try to fight, try to reclaim what's yours, but a woman takes you by the hand and leads you to a tower. He promised he'd take me home, you cry. You are home, she smiles as she seals the door. This is where you belong. Your hand drops away from the soul jar, your skin prickling. In the back of your mind, you hear a small, scared voice whimper before fading to nothing. You see a shape emerge from the ruins of the broken jar, a lizard in the finest necromancer robes. It grudgingly nods at you as it starts to fade from the mortal realm.
Farewell to flesh. Farewell to bone. Farewell.
The long-dead lizard's visions fade.
I can't help but sympathize with him. He just wanted to go home.
No amount of loneliness excuses wickedness. He helped a monster for selfish reasons.
What he did shames his people.
The soul jar stands on its plinth, glowing softly. From within, you can almost hear the whisper of a voice. You see, or rather, you feel a far-off land. Frozen breath hangs in the air, pine needles brush your cheeks, and in your arms you can feel a weight. A body, dead. But you have hope. Your vision swims. You're older, but perhaps not wiser. You march at the head of a shambling host, the enemies of Brachus Rex melting before you. The scene twists again. Now Brachus stands before you, a beautiful woman at his side. You lash out in treasonous rage, but cold arms bind you. You're sealed away in a tower. Your screams fill the darkness. You feel a jolt and open your eyes to see the soul jar before you, lying still in the vault. Your hand falls from the jar and grips the pillar as you try to calm your ragged breathing. A human spirit slips from the ruins of the jar. Decked in necromancer robes, she turns to you, bows, and starts to fade away to nothing.
Eternal thanks, young one. Oh, timely death.
The necromancer's memories fade to black, but the feelings remain.
They may have been a necromancer, but they did not feel evil. Misguided, perhaps.
Anyone who marches at the head of an undead host deserves whatever punishment they get.
One must wonder how many more lives they took, how much more misery the scum caused.
The deity's head and hands are missing, severed as if by a sword. You can't tell if this was meant to be symbolic somehow, or a mere act of vandalism. As you take in its chiseled details, you have a vision. The statue comes to life and embraces you awkwardly with its broken arms. Unable to resist, you're flown away into an endless dark.
That shrine seems to have brought me here. What is this place?
The helmeted figure before you slowly turns to face you. He raises his weapon, a great ethereal sword, and rushes forward, ready to strike you. The figure plants a foot before you and swings his sword down, hard, stopping short just over the base of your skull. The sword seems to hesitate, enticing the fine hairs on your neck upward.
Weakling. Fight!
The figure charges you head on, ready to plunge the sword into your chest. As he charges, he suddenly evaporates into the ether, passing through your body. Deep, dark cold blooms in every particle of your body. The figure materializes behind you and grabs your head with one hand, pressing his sword to your throat with the other. If you so much as breathe too suddenly, it will slice your jugular with ease.
You are my champion? How I wasted my efforts saving you as the ship went down. Why should I do as you say? You were so easy to best. Not all our enemies are of the flesh. You will have to do battle with as many specters as men if we are to survive.
He lowers his sword, releases you from his grasp, and turns you to face him.
I wonder if I've made a mistake in you. Recognize me. You are my champion, and I am your god.
He lifts his visor. Two deep green eyes fix you in their stare. In an instant, you know you are speaking to Ralik, god of all humans.
You have brought yourself. This gives me hope. I see a spark in you. The beginnings of a fire that may blaze our path back to preeminence in Rivellon. This is why I have chosen you to lead humankind back toward divinity. This is why you are my selected, my God-woken. Let me show you.
A great surge of power arrests your heart, your mind. When it passes, you feel ecstatic, replete.
You may have noticed I've tried to help you on your journey. I blessed the water beneath your feet so that it would aid you. Now you have the power for yourself. And this is only the beginning. More and greater powers await you, if only you will seek them. Only one like you can wield them. One marked for greatness. One who can either rise to this great task or let his people fall to ruin. Your purpose will be great, but the first step is simple. Escape the grasp of those who would do you harm. You and you alone must safely leave this place. You and you alone must rise above the reach of minor people.
Ralik visibly bristles at the mention of your companions.
I am not the only of the seven seeking a champion, my child. Your friends may have been similarly summoned by powers that threaten the very existence of our race.
He casts his gaze over the war below, where God fights God in a relentless, bloodless battle.
Times have changed. The gods are at war. The victor will choose the terms of peace. If we fail, If you fail, our race may well be lost. A father knows when he may trust in his children, and when he must intervene. I know that you will succeed, if you choose it. Do not disappoint me.
Sibyl is pensively tracing a new name on her arm, gilded letters in an ancient alphabet.
Sure, it's nothing really. My own name. A little gift from Tirsen Dilius. Leave it to a god to be overly dramatic. Must be a celestial party game. Or maybe he wanted to teach me a lesson. If the latter, he has much to learn.